By the way, if I've never mentioned, and I have, but if I've never mentioned how much I enjoy spending time with you all, running workshops, opening up boxes, talking about Chinese food on a D&D stream, because all this stuff comes up in the course of a D&D game. There's really nothing that we do here. There's nothing we do here that isn't in the context of getting together at a table, hopefully heads up, but virtual's fine too. And we play a game with friends, and we eat. We talk about side stuff, even if you as the DM are like, we got to get things back on track. All this is D&D. I love it, and I want you to be steeped in the culture if you don't have the opportunity to regularly. Where we don't treat D&D as just show up, roll dice, do math, and then we're done. Every session you walk away from D&D, and hopefully it's more good than bad, but you should have a story. You should have a smile on your face. After the game, because you get your attention back. After the game, you should say, oh yeah, Jill, I didn't know that, and that was really cool. Like how you brought that up in combat as another player, or even as a DM. Maybe one of your players said, yeah, I used to be in Boy Scouts, and a survival technique we used was this. I said, oh, well, I know you brought it up. We were in a pinch. I wanted to get through it, but I'll tell you what, if you can tell me more about this, then maybe I can incorporate that in your survival character. We can start using the things you've learned in Boy Scouts to get the party through the wilderness. And it otherwise wouldn't have come up unless you're talking about the news of the day, or someone's like, oh, hey, how'd the group go? You're in Eagle Scouts now, and like, did you have any new folks or something? All this stuff can start with a side comment. The stream is very fun. I'm glad. We argued horse breeding today. See? There we go. Yeah, animal husbandry is serious business. It got crazy. And this is the fun of what can happen. You talk about very interesting things, and everyone walks away. Maybe you're a little incensed. Hopefully nothing lingering. You don't smolder inside with generic rage afterwards. But yeah, all sorts of stuff comes up. You learn about life as you're living it, either yourself and putting it into D&D, or you reflect on what's happening in D&D, and maybe you can learn more about it by teaching yourself a skill or watching some survival videos or something. Next season, when I'm coaching youth hockey, I might try to use D&D as a team building exercise. You very much can, especially about group combat and about formations. Think about the hockey lessons that you want, and you can easily craft combats or other encounters where they have to kind of pass a puck between each other, or ways that they can think about what's happening. If you want to directly relate it to hockey, if you just want it as general team building so that they can make memories and be friends outside of hockey, to kind of help reinforce more than just the core threads, they can reinforce on the margins too. That's absolutely fine. And Orc, you wouldn't be the only person who's used D&D as a team building exercise. Pinky's out. All right, well, hey, we're talking this. Let's build a villain. I mean, at least one villain. But let's build a villain and explore how this is similar and yet different to a general NPC. And from there, we have most of the content that we need to build this monstrous adventure simply by going through the steps of creating the 5 characters, or in the case where we're role-playing as a DM, receiving character sheets from 5 separate players. But the character sheets have a lot of information. By going through and making the settlement, we had a lot of good information. The NPCs only continue that trend, and now our villain is going to help us super duper refine our idea. Quick question, says Refry. Which area on Discord can I post pictures of your minis you're working on? If you're painting minis, you can put that in your creations. It's the one that has the, why do I forget the name of the statues? They're the Easter Island head. That's the icon that's next to that channel. I'm a video coach. Gods know there's plenty of videos on D&D out there I can pull. There are. Some person in this channel, I think, also makes YouTube videos, but I don't know. That's honestly, there's actually people who make way better videos than I do, because mine are simply the recordings. And in fact, this is being recorded. So you out there, on whichever day in the future you're watching this, hi from the past. Hopefully I'm still around and we can talk and meet. And if not, then well, I hope this has been inspirational. But yes, there are other people who make very well-produced D&D videos. I'm just a scrub who records his Twitch sessions and uploads them. Because I don't have the time to do some professional editing. And as much as I would love to hire someone to do the editing, I don't have enough extra income to pay someone what they would deserve for that set of skills. Yeah, you're very welcome, Refry, and thank you for sharing pictures of those minis. All right, so we're talking villains, and why not? So we're gonna make two villains, and we're gonna do it the same way that we made our NPCs. The first one, we are just gonna pull random elements, and we're gonna string them together and find out what we have. The second, we're gonna use inspiration and a concept that's already manufactured and show how random elements can be, you know, not even tacked onto like it's sloppy, how they can be slotted into and organically fit into a pre-existing concept. In our Dungeon Master's guides, we're going to go up here to page 74. Well, it's, yeah, right here, 74, where we have a list of adventure villains. And we are going to roll a 20-sided die to figure out which kind of villain do we have. So let's get that shrunk back down and go over to the dice roller. Let's clear our results. A 17, a humanoid raider or ravager. A humanoid raider or ravager. Considering we're talking about a besieged city and maybe some sort of warlord or someone who's getting everyone psyched up, I think we are off to a good start, huh? An objective or scheme. I'm going to roll an 8-sided die. And based on that result, there is a subset of numbers here. 2. And in 2, we have... so the scheme is to influence. My goodness, does this not write itself? Now, the way in which this villain is going to influence, where I'm going to roll a 4-sided die. 4. Place a pawn in a position of power. Huh. In our starting place, we have charlatans running a false temple. Huh. Influence and place a pawn in a position of power. And you know what? I think we have an idea for what our next villain is going to be. Now, what is the methodology? How is this villain hoping to accomplish this task? Oh my. Methodology, I'm going to roll a d20, and once more, based on that, there's a subset of numbers. We rolled a 20 through warfare. Of course. Why wouldn't there be warfare with two city-states, or with one besieging the other? Now I'm going to roll a d6 and find out what kind of warfare there is a brewing. I rolled a 4. Mercenaries. Outsiders hired to meddle in the affairs of the city-states. Refry, hey, thank you. I'll be able to take a look when we finish our villain exercise. Like, I'll probably take a quick break, and then I can even show them on stream after that. But for any of you out there, if you want to check out Discord, Refry shared some whips, works in progress. Now, this villain has a weakness of some kind. Physical, emotional, psychological. You know, what is our prompt? What is going to weaken this villain to make this villain exposed or, you know, unsure? Maybe a way to stop the plan that is ready to hatch. I'm going to roll a d8, and we're going to figure that out. Right about now. The Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now. The Funk Soul Brother. 1. A hidden object holds the villain's soul. Can we work this in to the PCs or the NPCs that we have already made? Or is this going to spawn an entirely different set of circumstances and other NPCs or destinations? A hidden object holds the villain's soul. This could again be literal. We could be talking about a lich and a phylactery in a very forward fashion. This could be something more sentimental. A hidden object that this person places a great amount of sentimental value. The source of his or her identity lies with this object. And so while it may not be a measurable soul in a spiritual sense, it would be absolutely crushing if something bad were to happen to it. This villain's occupation and history. Once more, we could either just fill this in, or we can go through some character building exercises to come up with a background and a race and all that. And we'll save that for last because, again, it can matter. You know, are we talking a bugbear? Because then this person is after his own kind, or her own kind. But I don't want to worry about that just yet because we want to make the outline of the NPC first, and then we'll fill in some details later. Oh, you've been playing a lot of Minecraft lately, oh sheeps? You know, we raided Mr. Wolfie last night, who was also playing some... Mr. Wolfie was playing some Minecraft too. Was down in the nether. There's a good Yogscast song about that. Now, what is a notable physical appearance feature of this villain? And once more, we're going to get into the rolls where we have a 20, 2d6, 2d20, a d12, 2d6, a 10, and a 12. Now, hopefully I'm not going to lose my place next time. We come back through here, so we start with the 20. I'm going to scoot that off. So we have... Here we go. This was number 4. The abilities, 1, 6. The talent was 10. The mannerism was 4. $12 on interaction. 5 and 6 were the ideal. The bond was number 8. And the flaw or secret was number 10. Now let's head back over to our Dungeon Master guides and interpret this and find out more about the villain. Because a good villain is compelling. A really good villain you can understand and arguably even sympathize to some degree with the goal. Maybe not the methodology. Or at least you can understand why someone would be driven to do an action. Now, can you have a lol random villain that just wants to kill people to watch them die? Of course. And those are villains. So it'll be up to you to determine, do you want just the remote kind of monstrous, ununderstandable villain? Or do you want someone that would actually get the players to stop and think, maybe even contemplate joining forces or feel bad if it actually comes down to violence? Because someone like this could do so much better in the world if only they weren't hell-bent on whatever. What is a notable feature of this villain? We rolled number 4. Formal, clean clothes. Now, if this is an appearance, you want to drive this home with the explanation. Every time they see this person, maybe even before this NPC is revealed to be a villain, you know, you have someone who always seems to stand out in a crowd. Everything is very nicely pressed, starched, clean. Not a cat hair or piece of dandruff, or everything is always formal, even at a fishing tournament. This person decided to go and watch the results, and so while they weren't fishing themselves, then just immaculate all the time. Even if you describe this person as getting, you know, some water or fish guts or something from an errant catch. Then maybe this villain actually has prestidigitation, or an attendant to wipe them off, or a change of clothes handy, so that if the coat gets a spot on it, the character or a servant will bring a new one. It's all going to be in how the character continues to present itself, and we're going to figure that out. Because then when you finally drop the connection that, oh, this is the villain, you know, then they're like, oh, that's the clean cut man, or whatever. That's Mr. Reddycoat, or, you know, or Miss Fussy Pants, or something like that. I don't know. You know, oh, we always saw that person around, but we never thought that. Next up, the NPC abilities. The high ability is going to be strength. And the low ability is going to be charisma. Someone who's stronger of muscle than of social presence. A talent that this villain has is 10. Draws beautifully. Some of you may say, well, it draws beautiful. This is a villain in a D&D campaign. This is supposed to be evil, you know, skull-faced lich, or bad, you know, chromatic dragon, or... But a villain that draws beautifully? Can I even present that? What would people think? The more you can humanize... I know we're making a monstrous party, bear with me. The more you can humanize the villain, the closer you're going to get to that circumstance where your party might sympathize or at least understand the villain's plans. And that could really make for some tough decisions. All right, Derek. Hey, thank you for hanging out as long as you have. And thank you for supporting the boxes, including giving the hookup with that gelatinous cube. That was really awesome of you, sir. But you already know that you're an awesome guy. And if you ever need reminding, we're here. Ooh, some ramen. What kind of ramen, Shukan? You going spicy? Is it seafood? Did you add anything extra to it? Like some mushrooms, or if an egg. Oh no, wait! I think I remember you saying you don't like egg in your ramen, or am I mistaken? You could add some Parmesan cheese, like some of the grated, kind of dusty, like the Kraft cheese, because it kind of soaks up the broth and it adds an interesting kind of gritty texture. Hey Cody, substance over style. Yeah, so we're making a deep villain in this case. I draw for evil sometimes. I had to make money in college. Oh, so you worked for... I know Twitch is owned by Amazon, but I probably shouldn't make jokes about anything else. Peppers and onions with steak chunks? Alright, so... Villain Workshop is on hold. I think if we're gonna all have Chinese at my place tomorrow, tonight we're gonna go over to Shukan's for some pepper and onion steak ramen. Okay, does that sound good? Are we good if we just sort of stop here? Oh, and you're off to play Minecraft too? Everyone's playing Minecraft except me. Adios. I do like... Oh, you do like egg in your ramen. Okay. It was chicken. I added peppers and onions and steak chunks. Shukan, enjoy that ramen. And remember, don't stop telling yourself, just one more block. One more block. One more block and I'll go to bed. One more block. Just one more block. I'll go to bed after this block. Just gotta bust one more block. He could hate the concepts of gods, and he imagines a world not dictated by gods and evil spirits. And you can make a backstory. Hey, and yeah, Cody. I mean, welcome, and thank you for providing input. We'll bear that in mind as we're continuing to draw the personality, and to build this, understanding, this personality, this decision making for this character that will go on in our Monstrous story to be a villain, and that could end up being a big part of it. And let's actually see. What's sleep? Asks Shukan. It is when you time travel into the future. Unfortunately, it only works one way. You always just seem to end up in the future. Alright, what is the mannerism of this character? And Cody, hey, thanks for the follow, and welcome to our workshop. Our mannerism is number 4. Slurs words, lisps, or stutters. We might have someone then. I mean, this might be a part of a low charisma. This should be labeled high and low. That could be a part of it. This could also be why someone they have trouble speaking would choose instead to work on their body and their appearance in their dress, to let their physical presence speak for them. And this could come from a natural speech impediment. This could come from an old injury in war, kind of like getting whatever, you got like a big gash that opened up your cheek and or broke your jaw, and you could never speak correctly after that. This person could have been born with some kind of a birth defect that is like a physical one, not a learning disability that is allowing for this kind of an impediment otherwise. And maybe this person was kind of resentful or something. Could be a monk. How does this person interact with others? There was a chart with 12 options, and we rolled a 12. We have a suspicious person. Now, given the story we're building so far, if this person might have been burnt by society, growing up with this impediment, or otherwise something, growing up poor. Maybe there's nothing preventing the character from speaking correctly, but he or she was never properly educated, grew up poor but came into some money, maybe working in a mercenary group. This person could lead a mercenary band, and you know who that could connect a player character to make this villain even more intimate? Our orc. Our orc character we generated, who is a mercenary veteran, worked in a mercenary group. But we'll get there. We're throwing up possibilities. Like, Cody, you have some solid ideas. Let's keep thinking and filtering and finding out where this path is taking us. Now, useful knowledge. Again, this is a black box. Our villain can know everything, nothing, some things. Maybe we, as Dungeon Masters, don't even know yet. So I'm going to leave that blank for now, but we can always go back and fill that in if we need to. This villain has an ideal of some kind. We rolled 5, 6. So good, evil, lawful, chaotic, neutral. And in the neutral column, option number 6 is people. What does that mean? This person has an ideal for how people should be, act, look, believe, how they should be rolled over, or how they should behave under the scrutiny of a divine eye, or if this character eschews the divine, as Cody was talking about. He should hate gods because they never helped him when he was young and resents them. Even though he prayed and tried to be the perfect person, it wasn't good enough. Yeah, Cody, I think you're developing a good idea here in some capacity. The monstrous settlement that we had, crafted yesterday does play into faith being a big part of the culture between the two warring city-states. And especially with the starting city that our player characters are from, there's a temple there that's run by charlatans to a false god. That could be our villain who's hiring these mercenaries and putting out this false faith. Or instead of believing in the divine, this is more of a humanist approach. Who needs gods when they do this to people? When they don't answer prayers? We will answer you anytime you come to our temple. We'll listen and we'll give you advice. We'll help you become stronger. We'll train you actively. It takes no act of faith because it's happening right there in front of you. So that could be a very good approach for this, Cody. He judges people by their appearance just as he assumes people judge him. Oh, Refry, that's an excellent twist on things too. Now, this villain has a bond to the world, to a person or something that it could be related to, or it's independent from whatever this object is that holds the villain's literal or metaphorical soul. The villain's bond is number 8. Protective of a valuable possession. I mean, that could be this precious object. It could be something else that could lead to the precious object, such as the precious object being in a safe, but the valuable possession is the key to the safe. Whether that is a key of metal, a password, a person, some knowledge of buried treasure or whatever. But this can provide a very powerful point that if the player characters discover the villain's bond, that could be leveraged against the villain in a non-lethal fashion, or it could lead to a lethal altercation. But I hope all of you out there, if you play D&D, do some investigation. Try and learn this stuff. Don't worry about the hit points of the boss. Don't worry about the resistances or the fly speed. Yes, those are things to have a concern about. Learn about your villain. What can you find in research? It may not come immediately. It could take 10 sessions. This bond can lead to the weakness and develops the character even further. The valuable possession could even be, what if this person has, so we're building this, crying out to the gods, has like this scarred face or something. What if as a kid, this person had a sibling, a brother or sister or a cousin or something like that, a best friend. And when they were playing, maybe in an old temple even, something went wrong. A pillar collapsed, fell into a gap. A monster appeared in what they thought should have been a sanctuary. And the valuable possession is a scarf, a handkerchief, I don't know. Does this person have kind of a grisly trophy? Like, if their friend was a tabaxi and ended up, getting crushed under some rubble, did this person take the tail of their friend or family member? And that is either what holds the soul, or is that the valuable possession that actually leads to the burial place? And the possession that holds the soul is the corpse of this family member or friend in this old abandoned temple. Which, by the way, we generated one last night in the opposing city-state. And by uncovering that body, that just emotionally destroys the villain. Because you're forcing resolution, or acceptance of death, or acceptance that the gods, even in defiance, can be merciful. Or by unburying the body, that actually somehow allows for a supernatural encounter where the spirit of this person comes back and talks to the villain. Walks up, puts the hand on the cheek, like on the scarred cheek or where there's holes or a malformed, muscle, and affirms that the person is beautiful and that the world is unfair. But that's okay, because it's the world in which everyone lives. And we have someone who's dead, accepts circumstances, and the villain this whole time has been fighting it, manipulating it, which would be an awesome juxtaposition to the NPC we created, who her entire life of 700-800 years has been trying to manipulate society for beneficent reasons. And with as old as she is, that could even be not just the end of the villain in some degree, but that could be the acceptance that this old holdover from the frontiersmen needed. And in this final fight, perhaps the villain doesn't die, but this grandmother type figure dies. And the resolution is the moral story of acceptance after so long, and after looking back on everything. You're up on this abandoned temple, whatever, on top of a hill or wherever, and you look and you see that the city is on fire. You hear the screams of people. And what was it for? What was any of this for? To have a better world? What kind of a better world is this? For peace and happiness because there's one rule? There's one way of thinking? When everything that made this society strong was this mix of thought, and even the conflict and the loss that came of it because of differences? Moral decisions are the best bad guys, for lack of a better term. The best bad guys to your D&D game. Not just, here's a thing that has 100 hit points and you got to hit it a couple times and then you win. You know, that could be fun. You could spice up combat. But when you entrust your players to have to make a weighty moral decision that has consequences for the very world in which they live, that is the ultimate last boss. Sorry, I fell behind in chat while I was on this soapbox. Make him very compassionate then as well. He could grow up with some. The safe sounds better. How to tame the Tarrasque. Like Drowned reminding the city. Well, there isn't Drow in the setting that we're creating, but we can have something along those lines. We're talking about an Underdark style cavern system that has sort of opened up and has been consuming a lot of the water in this desert, making the circumstances more dire. Or I'm sorry, it wasn't the desert for the monster people. It was the human, or the player handbook race city that the monsters would go to find help that is having a trouble like this. So in that case, it could be, I mean, we could say Drow. I think we were talking like an earthquake opened up and it turned everything kind of poured underground for a big underground lake, and it dried up everything above. He wanted to change, but at what cost? I like that wording, Cody. How bad does he want it? Even though if he cannot speak probably and scared and everything he's been through, a man would risk himself in ideology. Fallon says, I understand you have a tabaxi hunter in the orphanage. How would I go about trading you for it? You would ask me if you want to trade for it. I'd evaluate the miniatures that you have that I'm holding for you right now, and I would give you a quote on what trade credit I can give you, and then you can decide which minis or whatever that you want to apply towards picking up that other piece. Well, I hope you don't get hurt, O'Sheeps, and that you can find a better solution. Now, this could even be a bigger key to it all. The flaw or secret of this character. We rolled number 10. A secret crime or misdeed. Now, you know what's super compelling about this? The quest giver NPC also is guilty of a secret crime or misdeed. And the player characters would start their adventure with this friendly, kind of matronly, grandmotherly style character who everyone regards as good. And you know what? By the time the adventure comes to a close, maybe they can see redemption in the villain and realize this whole time that their mentor or whomever this NPC is to them, maybe they actually shared in this crime or this thing that happened in the past that shamed the NPC and could have even scarred the villain. Could that have been trespassing in the abandoned temple? And the kid villain was put up to that by the NPC, since she wants to try and, you know, get people to live better lives, and so she had these rowdy kids that she wanted to try and, you know, humble or something along those lines. Maybe send them there and scare them to try and put them on a scared straight, and things went wrong, and the column toppled, crushed the sibling or cousin or friend, and then that sent this kid into this spiral for the rest of his life. And so, you know, the otherwise beneficent NPC never spoke of it, but saw in horror as this person grew bitter and trained hard, and now is coming back as this unresolved secret, and both of them sharing it. And again, of all of the numbers we could have rolled against all of the characters we could have generated, our main NPC and our main villain share the same flaw, and almost everything in the story that we've composed to this point actually seems to provide some good poetic justice. If you like that kind of thing in your storytelling. Could this be another secret crime? You know, could this person have been an outsider who was actually on the run as a mercenary captain because he was good at killing and he got his start when he was young? Of course. And you can have a compelling villain that way. It depends, as a dungeon master, how close do you want to keep everything? How closely intertwined do you want to keep the circumstances and the characters? Do you want a big, broad world with a lot of moving parts? Or do you want to hold the attention and the emotion of people in your hand as you find out the world is actually really small? He may have been misled as a child. Maybe he even knew he was a bad child. And so here we have the main villain of this monstrous adventure. We told an entire backstory by rolling some dice and reading the results one step at a time. And Cody, you were putting some good ideas out there that we were able to, to weave into this and to create something compelling and that is an organic result of all of the work that we have done so far with last week's character creation and this week's campaign creation. And would he look for relics? Maybe, the search for MacGuffins or magic items. That's stuff that we can put in as points of interest, as, very, starter goals, things that are obvious. He needs to collect the 3 relics of blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying blah, blah, blah because I'm disinterested, but because it could be the name of something. It could be going out and there's all kinds of MacGuffins or all kinds of these sort of immediate goals that we can put out there. And what's nice is because we have the core of our character, we understand this villain. I feel bad for this villain. Even if the final thrust through his torso and the PCs aren't knocking him out, they're going for the killing blow, I would still feel bad knowing what has happened to this person. Because it would be like, in a sense, it'd be putting down a dog with rabies. Your beloved dog, you've had this dog for 10 years, still has a decent amount of life left in it, except has this disease that it can't be cured and it's going to be a danger to people. And who's going to do it? You go back behind the shed and, you say the piece, or you say your piece, you contemplate, and you feel horrible, even though it's the best thing for everyone, including the animal who'd have to suffer from that condition. And it's gut-wrenching. Oh, yeah, and so Cody, because he's this mercenary leader, presumably, he could very well want to accumulate power. And that would be like a side plot, or, you'd bring it up early in the game by saying, yeah, the old reliquary, apparently had several things missing from it. All of them were weapons, and of course, the one city-state is being besieged by the others. And this is fomenting suspicion. It's building tension. So yeah, that's not bad. And so Cody, I hope when I said, the bow of blah, 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 that wasn't dismissive. That was just the details of the item or where it's located. Now we're kind of getting into the minutia of the plot, instead of worrying about the core of the character. We're called, someone managed to glitch out the camera software. Uh-oh. Old port. It was an inside job. You better do... Someone snuck in at that exact moment. This is no coincidence. There are no coincidences, old port. The party would not initially know the intentions. So think about this, Cody. Well, actually, I should say, because Cody, if you're new to the community, welcome. I think I've welcomed you, but have you played a lot of D&D? And I'm not asking in a patronizing manner. Some people are brand new, especially because we love welcoming new players. But some people have been playing for 30 years, 40 years or whatever. Old Port says if anyone tried to pull that off, you'd hear about it on the news. Oh, are we talking some top secret stuff here? Not some like industrial espionage where it would never make the paper because the one business doesn't want to say that someone came in and lifted the plans for the new prototype or whatever. We'll be paying people to get information on them learning about their past. Oh, you started 7 months ago during Christmas? Well, welcome to the hobby. I hope you've really enjoyed it. And you know what, Cody? With everything you've been contributing, this is D&D. And your mind is absolutely in the right space to enjoy this hobby and to really make the most of it. And so when you start an adventure, usually, you're fresh-faced to the world. Pardon me, you're fresh-faced to the world. Whatever, you're level 1 or level 3. Everyone just made their characters, and they don't know a lot about the world. But, it's like in a JRPG. You're the son of the farmer. You're in the quaint, moderate temperature, everyone gets along village until you realize there's a greater world out there. Kind of following the hero's journey in a literary device. And so when they start, the party probably has never even heard of this character. And as I was saying, maybe you could describe this character is at a tournament of some kind, or they see someone who's so sharply dressed and stacked walking through the middle of town. But, otherwise, this person isn't out to just punch people in the face to be a villain. There's greater plans. But they might realize later that they've actually seen this character. And maybe by then, you've already sort of delivered the plot that this could be an important person in the other city, and now it's tense and all this other stuff is happening. So it's a good, it's a slow drip feed of information to players who've been paying attention along the way. You like Zero to Hero? Got it. Hi, Cat. You want to come say hello to everyone else? You should. Just don't go behind my camera, please. What's this? I don't know if you all heard that. Hey, there she is. There she is. Hi. There you go. You want a good old-fashioned noggin scratch. Occasionally there are cats on this stream, Cody. So we've spent a ton of time talking about a character that we just pulled out of the ether. We didn't know anything other than we needed a villain. We needed a villain for our story. And so what are we going to do about that? Well, there's other villains that we can generate. We could generate sub-bosses, and we already have a prompt for one. We could generate the boss of the dungeon that the party's going to have to go to get from their Monstrous city over to the more humanoid city in order to seek help to find reinforcements for this city-state besieging going on in distant lands. My goodness, Cat, I love you. I do, thank you. Ether villains are the best villains. Theming is so easy. There you go. If you all like tortoiseshell calicos, she's in your face. Yep, you get a cat butt emote as one of your tier 1 subscriber emotes here. Oh, she is purring. I wish y'all could hear this. Oh, you're so fuzzy. But that's the point. Because you came up here for a reason. And you know what that reason is? Yeah. Speaking of villains, I have a cat on my lap and I'm and I'm petting it menacingly. You know, we can do this. We can use this process to make a myriad of villains, whether they're the grand overarching villain or they are just sort of the sub boss, so to speak. Not a Sphinx cat, you're fine? No, no Sphinx cats. If the time comes to end up getting a new cat for my goodness, to get a new cat for the house, it is adopting from the local humane society a cat that otherwise would be in need. She was the runt of her litter, and I mean, she survived, but she was the smallest, and she was also a ball of energy. When I first held her, she just jumped out of my hands and fell a couple feet to the floor, and I was freaking out, but she's like, whatever, I'm a cat, and just dashed off, even though she's this little kitten. So full of energy. She's the sporty one in a slice of life anime. And so I wanted to give her a chance because a lot of people may not want to adopt the runt, you know. And the gray cat that you see on stream time and again, he followed one of my customers home to the, or not home. He followed one of my customers to the store. So he walked into the store and said, "This cat followed me. What do I do?" And well, that's a whole other story. We have a villain to make, but needless to say, a poor gray tabby kitten lost on the streets in the city was taken in and eventually found a good permanent home instead of being abandoned, neglected, or hit by a car. And there are 2 other wonderful kitties that are resting in peace in urns over to the side, who had wonderful lives. And, you know, speaking of making those tough decisions, I was beside each of them when they were taken to the vet for the last time. And I stayed there with them and I pet them as any of their hurts or you know, any of their circumstances were taken care of in that regard, because that was really the only option. And as much as I didn't want to be there when, you know, they were given that final shot, I knew it was for the best. And in fact, if you go back into the stream archives, you can see one of those cats from the first year of my broadcasting. I even saved a clip of her crawling around on the desk and being very social. But last May, hey, I love you, but you can't do that. How does it go? I love you, you're perfect, now change. Oh, you can see some board games I have over here. But yeah, last May. Well, not this May, but last May. It was tough. And you know, hey, oh my gosh, I love you! Oh, boy do I love you. And you know what? We rolled up a Tabaxi character in her honor. And Macabre Derek, out of the kindness of his heart, drew a character sketch of that Tabaxi paladin that we generated. And I was so touched by that. It meant so much. I was almost tearing up on stream, my goodness. Anyway, we're not here to talk about morose things. I'm sorry if I brought the does the party meet the villain or mercenary group first? I don't know yet, Cody. This is all in the conceptual stage of the story. We're just generating elements of it, and then we'll put the elements together. Yeah, if you go into the past, if you go into the Twitch clip segment of, if you go into the Twitch clip segment of our channel, you can find the clip that had Miss Sophie in it. Maybe he has an elite group of mercenary. Maybe one of them is a ranger. So when they're traveling between, he's tracking them. Yeah, and Cody, these are details that can come up. We can even say, well, I mean, look, he has an influence. He's placed a pawn in a position of power. And so if we have someone in a position of power, this could be an influential mercenary. And a mercenary doesn't always have to be a fighter or a barbarian. In this case now, what we'll do is instead of taking a bunch of random elements, instead of taking some random elements, what we'll do is let's roll some random aspects that will lead back to the concept that we're preloading. So you see that this technique works both ways. So in this case, our adventure villain, you know, the occupation or history, this is a lead cleric under the control or orders of the main boss and a member of his or her mercenary band that uses the faith and temple to sneak in and out both What are you doing? Both people and supplies. And we know, because of the other things that we've done, again, because we have a basic concept that we're going to buttress with extra details. You know, the method, we can still roll it, but, you know, adjust it here. This is someone who has been instituted now, kind of secreted in as a person of faith, who is contending against the moral fiber or religious order of this other city. It's causing contention. It's also not helping the besieged condition that one city-state is imposing on the other. And we can even put, you know, the objective or scheme is to undermine the PC's home city-state. Adventure villain, we could even, you know, we could still roll for that, what type of a villain. But now we have this concept already loaded in. We already have the boss. We know about the boss and the motives. Now let's come up with some of this mid-boss. I mean, I'll use generic terms. You know, some of this underling quality. We're going to go to page 74. And this adventure villain is, we're going to roll a d20. 1. A beast or monstrosity with no particular agenda. So in this case, we have a beast that maybe was awakened, or this could end up being, we already had mentioned that a dragon could exist, this gold dragon or a gold dragon. We could interpret this that this is someone who just is curious about the world, you know, wants to see something change, or just was admired the strength of the boss, and the boss was the first person to prove itself, you know. Or this could be a minotaur, you know, we're talking about monstrous races in some way. And so this person doesn't really care if a city-state exists or not. It's there to enjoy itself, to have fun, or just to feel like I am in a pack or some other kind of group with a strong leader. Cody, this is all just, it could be what we need it to be. This is a conceptual workshop where we've made content last week and this week, And we're just slowly adding bits and bits and bits to it until we get a general idea. From everything we've rolled so far, it seems like in the middle of a desert that is split by this river, there's these 2 city-states that house populations of monstrous races. And by that I mean the 13 races you find in Volo's Guide to Monsters. And we've built a culture, and we're building a story around it. Hey, Carl, welcome. Now, because there's no really agenda, there's not really a scheme. This person just exists as a roadblock, which works out very well if we just have this monstrosity, this beast, or, you know, this sentient outsider of some kind. Maybe even to the monstrous races, this person is a monster. So this has already been supplanted by the will of his or her boss. Now, the method in distributing this, well, this could be the... we could automatically fill this in by saying that this person has arisen to be the lead cleric. If we want to maybe spice it up or challenge ourselves, because we can always just hit delete and get rid of this if we don't like it. Well, let's roll a d20. Maybe the boss just said, this is what I want you to do, and I'm going to trust you to do it. So let's roll a d20. We rolled 6. Defamation. Ooh. We want to talk about a red herring spreading gossip and rumors? This could work out really well. So now I'm going to roll a d4. We rolled a 4. Libel or insults? And what is this? What does this monstrous character care? You know, this person's not here to run for mayor. This person's not here to impress anyone, which is why it's actually drawing a crowd, especially in these tough times. You want to follow tough people, people who don't care for civil discourse in the middle of an emergency. And Carl, I think I said welcome back. If not, then welcome back, Carl. Now, what is this villain's weakness, if we want to apply such a thing? Let's roll an 8-sided die and find out. 2. The villain's power is broken if the death of its true love is avenged. The villain's power is broken if the death of its true love is avenged. An idea that popped in my mind was, what if the sibling or whatever that died, their soul went into a local creature and turned it into, you know, sort of a beast person of some kind. And so, in a sense, the villain's soul or sentimentality is hidden inside this creature that came out and sort of was adopted as a pseudo friend or a pseudo sibling or family member. And so the villain's power is broken if the death of its true love is avenged. In this case, this could either again come to acceptance and thereby show that if you can redeem the sub-boss, perhaps you could redeem the boss. Or simply, if you found a way that, you know, this animal had wandered to the temple after a hunter had killed its mate, and it couldn't express that until it actually knew the thoughts, but that those thoughts at hunters and people who did this planted a bitter seed in the heart of this creature. Look, a house cat became a red lantern, okay? Hashtag just saying. But maybe that's what led these two to actually become close. Because they both harbored this resentment. The one became callous, right? The sub-boss became callous and was like, yeah, whatever. And is just living because, you know, maybe feels a little numb from it. The other, though, has a direct purpose. And if you want it to be completely different, or you don't think that a sub-boss should have kind of a mystical weakness, absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. We do this to challenge ourselves to think, can we make connections? And if we can't, we do this and we hit delete. The NPC's appearance. What is something that is notable about this appearance, the appearance of this NPC? So once more, I'm going to roll a series of numbers and we'll apply them as necessary. So we have 1d20, 2d6 for the abilities, 2d20 for a talent and mannerism, 1d12 for interaction traits, 2d6 for the ideal, a d10 for the bond, and a d12 for the flaw or secret. So we're going to come back here now with this not covered, preferably. There we go. And we have 14, 3, 5, 4, 6, 8, 4 and 2 for the ideal, and then 3 and 12 for the bond and the flaw and the secret. Now that we've cast our bones into the augury dish, let's read them and find out what this means. For the NPC appearance number 14, a braided beard or hair. Could this be, could this even be a were creature of some variety? A were-bear, a were-boar, or just, again, a boar, or even a deer that's just, you know, we have shaggy deer in this world, why not? Or something that would express that, you know, these braids exist for a reason. Are the braids a symbol of every person that this creature has hunted in return after gaining this sort of vengeful sentience? Or is it just stylistic? How could this manifest? Could this creature have braided hair because of the sentimental value? You know, so let's say that our main villain, you know, misses that missing sister or brother, and so the braided hair is actually done. Again, look. Well, so this is draws beautifully, so we actually might show that there's these, you know, there's this kind of animal creature, but it's drawn very well. But, you know, we could even say instead of draws beautifully, what if the talent is something we step sideways with it? And, well, it definitely impeccably dresses. And so the braiding could come from this behavior, or we could reinterpret this, although it might be fun if it's a stem from this and there's just a bunch of sketches of, you know, that are found later of this, you know, big beastly, you know, beast person, but drawn in gentle light, drawn with compassion, or drawn in the heat of fury, as this villain mourns the loss of this other person by imposing it, you know, imposing this rancor onto the animal, which is bearing kind of a manifestation of it. Or it could have just been a hairy person or animal. That's absolutely fine. Now, the strong point of this character is Constitution. And the low point of this character is Wisdom. We did say they're charlatan clerics. Okay, I'm out. I'm literally about to crash into my desk while listening. Laters. All right, Hark, thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you here. A beast with some sentience. So we have like a red 13 going on, Cody, is what you're saying. Could be paint made with the red stuff. Are the braids long or short, well kept, or wild and frayed? Yes. They could be, I guess, what we want them to be, Old Port. Crow Frost, have a good night, everyone. Keep up the imagination level. You know we will. And lastly, our well, not lastly, nextly, our talent. What is something that this bestial creature that's been animated by such, tragic emotions? What is a talent this thing has? Number 4, a perfect memory. Uh-oh. So in the confrontation, this is a good sub-boss to drop lore bombs. And one that would really, might say a couple things when dying, but this is a chance that either it could be spared and captured, maybe, question mark, by the party and information extracted, or you kill the beast, but so too does all that information become lost. And then, of course, from the sub-boss, you go on to the back 9 of your adventure that eventually culminates with the showdown with the big bad evil guy. The mannerism in which this bestial priest, this priestial character, carries him or herself. 6, also speaks loudly. Well, learn from the best, because that is the exact same mannerism. Or wait, was that an NPC? Oh, I'm sorry, that was an NPC. Sorry. Well, we rolled that before, despite having 20 options. So now we have a more of a human aspect of someone who speaks loudly, and now a bestial reflection. Again, I maybe I'm overworking this, trying to find, poetic connections and everything. Sometimes things are as they are, and 2 people on a planet can both speak loudly if they wish. So I don't want to seem like I'm trying to make this overly complicated or hackneyed. How does this person socially interact with others? Number 8, oh. Hot-tempered? Oh. Ooh, hang on. Okay, all right. I thought maybe those 2 were shared on one NPC that we created. But the Speaks Loudly is on our main quest giver NPC, and the Hot-Tempered was a feature of this dragon. Although, what could be a bestial person? A bestial person could be a dragonborn, which they're not in Volo's guide. And dragonborn... This works really well, because Dragonborn were one of the dominant races in the Player's Handbook society that we randomly generated, that the player characters are going to visit to go find help. I think we have, so in that case, I mean, we could still have braids, or if you want to keep it like Dragonborn and they have those kind of like spine dreadlock things, or just wears hair because it thinks it looks pretty. Who knows? But that could be an awesome connection, where here a Dragonborn is considered to be an individual, kind of freakish, an anomaly, something that shouldn't exist. And now they're common in the place that the player characters went to. And they're common, and of course this illicit priest would be probably more of an obvious villain from the lower levels from beginning, because of the things that are happening with this disruptive temple. And so we already are saying that Dragonborn apparently are the bad guys, and now they end up in a city that has a bunch of Dragonborn in it. And so the player characters, well, I mean the characters, but the players are challenged to overcome this. And that could lead to a redemption arc, or again, you put down the mad dog. And Cody, I don't know if you were lurking last night, but to back up the fact, I swear I'm not fibbing to you for convenience sake. In the city that we manufactured, and we drew an MS Paint, because we keep things simple around here. Dragonborn they're the minority race, but they're a significant minority. and have a place in this oligarchy, in this rulership of this frontier kind of town of outcasts. Could be non-organic braids. Yeah, tassets, jewels, and coins. Yeah, if you want to play to a friend of mine. A friend of mine always loves doing his impression of a dragon, which is him leaning back in the chair going, "I'm a dragon." Like backstroking through a pile of gold, rubbing through it like a cat, cat and catnip. "I'm a dragon. I'm a dragon." Oh gosh. Now, useful knowledge. Well, especially if someone who remembered. Oh, this is the NPC. Useful knowledge. Someone who has a perfect memory. This is a black box of whatever we want this person to have. And it's good, it's good if you drop some truth bombs halfway through a campaign. Ooh, are any of my Tuesday players in here still? Haha, Derek isn't here anymore. Oh, Fluffy Sheep is lurking. You didn't hear anything. But it's great to drop some major lore bombs in the middle of a story and and see where it has the party go from there. A little bit of Jack Sparrow in the sense of that it's inorganic braid. Oh, yeah. And it could be feathers, or even you could have... Dinosaurs had feathers, my friends. Some people speculate certain dinosaurs even had fur, but dinosaurs had feathers. I mean, chickens are a descendant, but anyway. And so it could even be long feathers like peacock feathers that are naturally growing out, or just someone who braids in feathers. Now, this character's ideal. 4 and 2. So that's going to take us from good, evil, lawful. We're in a chaotic ideal. And number 2 is creativity. I want to create. I don't care what the results are. I want to just make. I want to whatever. And that could lead why this person does actually want to have this. I mean, in our terms, I'll say a humanist faith. And this could even be, one that is, yes, let's create muscle. Let's work out. Let's have, what is the correct term for that? For the wine god Bacchus. A bacchanalia is sort of like a wild wine drinking party with perhaps some more than PG-13 interaction between the participants going on. And so maybe this is a little bit more of a hedonistic, right? Deal with the here and now. Be the best you can. Enjoy your body. Enjoy your flesh. Enjoy laughing. Create. Be. And that's disruptive of an orderly society. Now, this character does have a bond to the world. That is, it could very well be the direct, the maker, the inadvertent maker. But we have a bond that is number 3. Protective of colleagues or compatriots. So we do have a very loyal guard dog. Sorry, that was my computer having notification. And lastly, what is the flaw or secret to this character? We rolled a 12. Foolhardy bravery. Whoops, not hearty. Foolhardy. Tough. Like con is my high ability. Hardy. Foolhardy bravery. So this person will throw him or herself, or itself, into a fray, into, a mosh pit of regaling itself in music, or into a drinking contest, or into a workout, or whatever. And this person isn't afraid to throw elbows, isn't afraid to pick fights. because of this more loosey-goosey approach to life. Cody, this person really does sound like a Dragonborn. Yeah. Yeah. And now, on top of everything we've already created, here we have a compelling villain and a compelling, sub-boss or, a minor villain. They're connected. They're a part of the world because they're a product of the world. It's super easy to say, yeah, let's nuke down the boss because it doesn't belong here. Whether it's because it's an undead or because it's from a different plane. The less attachments a villain has to the world, the easier it is to just say, let's kill it. Let's get rid of it. And that's been the basis to human decision-making also for a very long time. And it still is. And I'm optimistic of society, but we will always have this fear of outsiders, this fear of the unknown. Because it's ingrained in us as a survival technique that we try and learn ourselves or teach the next generation. You have it, but how do you act upon it? How do you express yourself when faced with this sort of a thing? So if you have this foreigner, someone who's not a part of the world, someone who's not a part of the culture, the religion, the being living or fey or undead or whatever, it makes it super easy to just say, yeah, we'll line up our abilities and Nova around it and, in one turn, and yay, we won. And you look at it as a contest of getting rid of a pebble in the road instead of dealing with the product of the culture that your character may love so dearly, because they are also products of that culture. And it hits really close to home if someone, by the circumstances or decision on a different day at a different location or whatever, you realize you could have turned out like that if not for X or Y. And now that twists the emotional dagger, and you're telling a riveting story that allows for wonderful player character growth and development as they explore the past and they explore this dark reflection of themselves that's embodied in a villain like the one we've created. Now, having an outsider villain that has machinations that span lifetimes, that is this a mind flayer, a lich, even a dragon. We see it oftentimes as adversaries. There's nothing wrong with running that in a game of D&D as the villain, because there's no one way to run a story. It's your story, and it'll fit how it's supposed to fit. But bear that in mind if we do want to create a compassionate villain. If we want to create a villain that will help us find our humanity in juxtaposition to all of us saying, yeah, it'd really be cool if we all play monster characters. By the way, Nisa says hi. I was off the brush. You can really drive that home with the themes that you want to incorporate. Basic psychology, there you go, Cody. Oh, yeah, old port, and it, unless they changed something recently, it doesn't even tell you. It looks like it's sent, and then when the person doesn't react to what you said, you're like, oh, well, something must have been wrong. Hey, no problem, Mr. Wolfie. Do what you gotta do. We're here. Now, that being said, Mr. Wolfie, welcome back. And Old Port, I'll stick around for a little bit here to see what you have to say. As it's 4 a.m., before we get to the adventure, I guess we're going to have to hold that over. We're going to have to hold that over for next week. Probably, if not on Wednesday, because I do want to do a review of Acquisitions Incorporated and go through it. Maybe what we can do is I'll take the information that we have generated so far, and I'll put it in a list of prompts, and then together in a workshop, we'll weave a milestone-based adventure outline that will take our monstrous characters from their, sleepy hometown city-state out to a land of foreigners that has its own troubles, and back again to solve their own after they've learned their lessons and strengthened themselves. But it is 4 a.m. and I'm going to have to go to sleep soon. So unfortunately, I don't have it in me to really put all my brain juice behind a narrative of that in that regard. It was something regarding mid-encounter lore. I'm using encode thoughts as a method of storytelling in the very near future. If you have success with that or other stories, Old Port, please share them. Because I think there's a lot to learn from us who try and drop lore bombs or use encode or to go about hints or obvious revelations or dreams or, you know, maybe a talking book that has the history, but you can only get the history from the book by talking to it. Oh, I'm not going just yet, Cody. We're close. We're close. But I hope this was compelling for you all. I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe you don't agree with my thoughts. And Cody, you were on point. You had some excellent thoughts that I think we were able to really weave into this. And that's what I love about this workshop stream. So thank you very much. I hope it was entertaining. And if you have other ideas, you know you can always throw them out there. These aren't my characters, these are our characters. And just because I say something has to exist doesn't mean it has to. It's just the first thing that came to my mind, and I don't want to have a blank sheet in front of me. I want to have something up there. But the time has come. We are going to go find someone to say hi to. And I have a sneaking suspicion. Is the Salty Dragon Tavern, have they gone live? If so, we can give them a raid. Otherwise, we might have to find someone else. Because I gotta do a faceplant into a pillow here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a little bleary. And I also have some minis I have to account for here. Who in our community is broadcasting right now? Oh, snap. You know who I haven't rated in a minute? Captain Milne. Oh, we're going to say hi to Captain Milne. He's currently playing Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. Awesome guy, very chatty, has a lot of good humor, has some fun channel interactions as well. Captain Milne's been hanging out for a while with us. He does play some D&D. You can talk to him about that. You can talk to him about, he's a variety streamer as well. Who, as far as I know, is still going to TwitchCon as well, so I'm going to have the chance to meet him. But let's go say hi to him. We haven't seen him in a little bit here, so we're going to /raid Captain Milne, and let's spread the love and joy, everyone. Drop in Discord, probably in the DMs, because one of my... yeah, please do. I don't want you to reveal anything. I don't want you to reveal anything that you ought not reveal, and I'll keep it secret. So we're gonna get the raid started, and hopefully I'll be able to get a raid emote here for us when we do this. Get through. Oh, I'm not stuck in ad purgatory because I'm a subscriber, and I'm gonna drop this 8-month sub-anniversary on him too. So let's go over and say hi to Captain Milne. You ready, everyone? Have a great night, oh sheeps, and I'll see you all around on Discord. We'll be back on Tuesday to roleplay, and then Wednesday beyond, more workshop. Peace.